A gunshot cracked through the courtyard. She didn't scream. She didn't flinch. She grabbed his hand, yanked him under the table, and whispered a prayer he had never heard before. Not the one from Sunday mornings. This one felt older. Sharper. As if it belonged to another time. He didn't ask. He couldn't. His chest burned from holding his breath. Outside, chaos twisted into sound, a woman shrieking in Spanish, a neighbor's baby wailing in terror, the buzz of a faulty streetlight flickering through their dirty window. On the TV, muted explosions played in a B-movie no one watched, red and blue flashes echoing the real ones outside. Upstairs, someone shouted something he'd only hear again once in his life, and by then, it would be too late. That night marked the first crack in his world. But he didn't know it yet. He only knew one thing: he wasn't supposed to be here. Not under this table. Not in this building. Not in this life. Yet here he was, knees pressed into the sticky linoleum, eyes locked on the chipped wooden floor, and heart pounding a rhythm he'd never forget. And still, he asked himself the same question that would haunt him for years: why am I here? His mother held him close until the screaming stopped. Her hands trembled, but her voice didn't. She leaned close and said it, again. That sentence. The one she'd repeat every morning for years, like a code only he was meant to decode. Where you are is not who you are. He didn't understand it then. He was 10. But those words, and that prayer, would follow him through every broken promise, every lost friend, every sleepless night when the power went out and the walls felt like they were closing in. That same night, Ricky disappeared. Ricky was his best friend. They shared school lunches. They hid together during hallway fights. They once swore, under a broken street lamp, that they'd both get out of this place. Together. But after that night, the night of the gunshot, Ricky was gone. No goodbye. No trace. No explanation. It wouldn't be the last time someone vanished. Years later, he'd ask himself a different question: was Ricky the first warning? Or the first sacrifice? He started noticing the patterns then. The kids who stopped showing up at school. The apartments that stayed empty too long. The man upstairs who never made eye contact. And the prayer. That strange, whispered prayer, the one he'd only ever heard once, kept returning to him in dreams. He asked his mother about it once. She looked at him with tired eyes and said, "That prayer is not for children. But one day, you'll need it." He never forgot that. He never forgot the scent of bleach and burnt rice in their kitchen. Or how the TV always played without sound, as if the house had its own silence it wanted to protect. He never forgot the button. That same button on his school shirt that kept falling off, the one his mother kept sewing back on, week after week, with the same thread, the same words, the same touch. Where you are is not who you are. He didn't know it then, but that button would outlive them both. He kept the button. Not out of sentiment, but because it stopped falling off. The thread his mother used that last time, it never broke again. It shouldn't have mattered. It was just a button. But that year, everything else in his life came undone, everything except that single, stubborn stitch. He started noticing details like that. Too many to ignore. Like how the same streetlight flickered every Tuesday, how the same black car circled the block at midnight, how his teacher's eyes darted to the back window during roll call, as if someone was watching. As if someone else already knew which kids wouldn't make it to June. And still no one spoke about Ricky. No one. But something had changed. Not just around him, inside him. He was no longer afraid of silence. He was studying it. Holding it. Measuring it. Because in the silence, people revealed more than they did in words. That's when he started writing. Not for school. Not even to be read. Just to get things out. Stories, at first. Weird ones. About keys buried under cracked pavement, or about shadows that remembered your name. His mother read one by accident, and didn't say a word. She just kissed his forehead, then whispered, "You remember better on paper." He wrote more after that. Then came the test. Not a metaphor. A literal test, state level, standardized, and full of trick questions. He passed it. Top 2%. No one else in his school even made top 20. The principal called it suspicious. The teacher called it a miracle. His classmates? They called him a cheat. He never told anyone how he answered the final essay. Or why the topic, "Who would you save if the world ended tomorrow?" made him freeze. He had no answer. He still doesn't. But the score gave him one thing he hadn't had before, a door. A real one. An offer, from a program for gifted kids downtown. Out of his neighborhood. Out of the patterns. It terrified him. His mother said only this, "Take it. But take your silence with you. Don't let them teach it out of you." He didn't know what she meant. Not then. On the first day of the new school, he wore the same shirt. Same button. Same silence. But everything else felt wrong. The walls smelled like lemon polish and money. The students didn't look tired. The teachers didn't look afraid. And the security guard at the front gate smiled. He wanted to turn back. But just as he reached for the bus schedule, he saw him. The man from upstairs. The one who never made eye contact. Standing across the street. Watching. And smiling. That was the moment everything tilted. That was the first time he felt chosen. And it scared him more than anything else. He didn't sleep that night. Not because of the new school or the kids who looked like they belonged in catalogs. Not because of the way his name sounded wrong in every teacher's mouth. Not even because someone wrote, "Welfare Boy," on his locker with a Sharpie. It was the man. The man from upstairs. He hadn't seen him in months. Maybe a year. Then suddenly, on that exact morning, the morning his life was supposed to change, there he was. Across the street. Staring. Smiling. And gone before the bus arrived. Coincidence? He stopped believing in those after Ricky disappeared. At school, he walked the halls like a shadow. No one talked to him unless they had to. They thought he was angry. Cold. But the truth was, he was busy listening. Watching. Mapping the patterns in this new world, the nervous glance a teacher gave before every pop quiz, the girl who never touched her food, the janitor who read poetry between classes. And one afternoon, behind the library, he saw it again, the same black car from his old neighborhood. Parked. Empty. Engine off. But still somehow watching. He told no one. He started writing again. Pages and pages. Not just stories now, fragments. Lists. Maps. A diagram of the school's exit routes. A timeline of the days Ricky went missing. A list of names, students who seemed to vanish from the gifted program without explanation. 3 in one semester. Dropped out, they said. Family moved, they claimed. But he saw the same pattern. Always the same black car. Always the same days. He wrote it all in a notebook, the one with the button sewn into the cover. His mother had stitched it there without asking. A reminder, she said. Of what stays. But she hadn't been herself lately. Her hands shook more. She spoke less. Some days, she stared at nothing for hours, like waiting for a call that never came. Until one night, she turned to him, mid-dinner, and asked. "Have you seen the car again?" He hadn't told her. He nodded. She nodded back. Then it's coming. Faster this time. He wanted to ask what she meant. But the next day, she was gone. Not dead. Not missing. Just, not home. Her job said she hadn't shown up. No note. No trace. The food in the fridge was still warm. The TV still muted. The shirt he was supposed to wear tomorrow was half-ironed on the couch. That night, he didn't sleep either. Not because he was scared. But because for the first time in his life, he understood silence. And it terrified him. He checked every hospital. Every precinct. Every shelter. Nothing. Her purse was still in the kitchen. Her shoes by the door. Even her phone, charging, untouched, with the alarm still set for 5:30 a.m. As if she planned to wake up and go to work like any other day. But she didn't. No note. No warning. No message. Just silence. And something else. A folder, thin, old, buried under a floorboard she never let him touch. It held 3 things: a birth certificate with a different last name, a photo of her standing in front of a school he didn't recognize, and a handwritten letter that began, "If you're reading this, it means I failed." Failed what? Failed who? He didn't know. But the next line said, "Don't trust anyone from the program. Even the ones who seem kind. Especially them." It changed everything. He had no idea his mother knew about the program. Let alone feared it. Let alone planned for it. Had she known something all along? Was that why she'd whispered that prayer? Sewn that button? Watched that street? And what was the program really? A scholarship? A lifeline? Or something else? He stopped going to school. Not because he gave up. But because now, everything had to be observed. Measured. Mapped. He spent days tracking the black car. Nights decoding the letter. Weekends walking neighborhoods she used to pass on the bus, wondering what else she'd hidden in plain sight. Then, one evening, he returned home to find the TV on. With sound. For the first time in his life, it wasn't muted. It was playing an old interview, grainy, low-res, but familiar. It was his mother. Younger. Confident. Speaking to a room full of people about emergent intelligence in underrepresented communities. He barely recognized her. The banner read, "Keynote speaker, Dr. L. Ramirez, founder of Project Ascent." His mother wasn't just part of the program. She built it. But why did she hide it? Why did she run? And why had she warned him to stay away from the very thing she created? He needed answers. But there was one person who might know, the man from upstairs. The one he hadn't seen since that morning at the gate. The one who watched, who waited, who smiled. Who was he? That night, he stood outside the man's old apartment door. He raised his fist to knock. And the door opened before he touched it. The door opened. Not wide, just enough for a voice. "You took too long," the man said. He hadn't aged. Same coat. Same voice. Same eyes that never blinked. He stepped aside, wordlessly inviting him in. The apartment was empty. Not in a casual way, in a cleaned-out, erased, deleted kind of way. Like no one had ever lived there. Except for one thing. On the wall, a photo. Framed. Faded. Torn at the edge. His mother. Standing between 2 men in suits. One of them was the man in front of him. The other, he didn't recognize. Yet. "You came for answers," the man said. "But are you sure you want them?" He didn't respond. The man poured tea. 2 cups. No questions. No expressions. Just quiet, practiced movements. As if this moment had happened before. As if it was part of a script they both forgot they'd rehearsed. Then the man said something that shattered the silence. She didn't fail you. She finished her part. What part? Was this all a plan? A test? He was about to speak, finally, but the man raised a hand. Listen first, he said. Then decide. And he pressed play on an old cassette recorder. His mother's voice filled the room. Tired. Soft. Steady. If you're hearing this, you survived the threshold. Threshold? She knew you'd reach it, the man said. Few do. Fewer cross it. Then he handed over a folder. No name. No label. Inside, a list. Dozens of names. Kids from the program. Each name had a mark beside it, a check, a cross, or a dash. Next to Ricky's name, a cross. Next to his own, a question mark. He wasn't chosen. He wasn't rejected. He was undecided. Then he noticed something else. His name appeared twice. One in black ink. One in red. What does it mean? He asked. But the man didn't answer. Because the cassette had stopped. Because outside, the black car had returned. This time, it didn't park. It waited. Headlights off. Engine running. And the man said just one thing before disappearing into the hallway. You have until midnight to decide who you are. The folder was still warm when the man disappeared. Gone. No goodbye. No explanation. Just the faint smell of burnt paper and a hallway echo that didn't belong to either of them. He didn't follow. Not yet. Not while the car waited below with its engine idling like a countdown. Midnight. That's what the man had said. You have until midnight to decide who you are. But what was the decision? Stay or run? Hide or fight? Remember or forget? He looked at the two versions of his name, black ink, red ink, side by side on the same page. One marked pending. The other, authorized. Authorized for what? The silence of the apartment was suffocating now. The walls felt thinner. The lights too bright. The photo of his mother stared down at him like she was watching, not from memory, but from inside the moment. And that's when it hit him. The date. The folder was dated exactly 10 years before that night. Same day. Same hour. He wasn't in that apartment by accident. He was scheduled to be there. A plan. Always a plan. But whose? He grabbed the cassette recorder, the folder, the list, and ran. Down the stairs. Out the door. Into the street. The black car was still there. Still waiting. But now, the passenger window was rolled down. Just an inch. Enough to see a paper resting on the seat. His name, typed. And below it. Last chance. Was this the choice? To get in, or walk away? He stepped closer. Slowly. Pulse in his ears. Every step felt like it echoed into another future. Then, a buzz in his pocket. His phone. Unknown number. One word. Run. He looked back up, the car door was opening. But not from the inside. From the back. Someone else was in the car. Someone he couldn't see, just the outline of a hand, placing something on the seat. A button. His button. He froze. How did they get it? He had never removed it from the notebook. Never. Unless someone else had. Unless someone else had been in his home. Recently. That changed everything. He turned. And ran. Not away, but home. Back to the apartment. Back to the last place that still felt real. He slammed the door shut behind him and locked all 3 deadbolts. Then he pulled out the notebook. Opened it. And the button was still there. Still sewn in. So whose button had he seen? The button was still there. Sewn tight. Right where he left it. But that meant only one thing: the button he saw in the car wasn't his. Someone else had one. An identical one. Or worse, a copy. But who would copy a button? He tore through the notebook, page by page. No message. No warning. Just the worn paper and ink-stained margins where his thoughts had lived for months. But suddenly, a loose page slid out, one he didn't remember writing. 4 words, scribbled in shaky handwriting. What if it's not you? He stared at the sentence like it had teeth. What if what's not him? The name? The path? The life? The boy in the stories? The one with the key? The one who survives? He tried to remember the first time he heard the prayer. That desperate, whispered sound his mother used the night of the first gunshot. Was it for him? Or about him? And why had she never said it again? The doorbell rang. Once. Then again. 3 slow knocks followed. Deliberate. Familiar. His heart raced, the pattern. The same pattern his mother used when she came home late. 3 knocks. Pause. 2 knocks. Pause. 1. He didn't move. Didn't breathe. Then a voice. Low. Female. Calm. Let me in. It wasn't her voice. But it wasn't a stranger either. He stepped to the door. Who are you? He asked. The woman didn't answer. Just slid something under the door. Another photo. Of his mother. With a baby in her arms. But not him. He'd seen his own baby photos. He knew what he looked like. This child wasn't him. The woman spoke again, quieter now. She wasn't supposed to keep you. And the air left his lungs. What are you talking about? She didn't fail you, the voice said. She stole you. The silence hit louder than a scream. She changed your name. Burned the file. Hid the truth. And now they want it back. Want what back? No answer. He opened the door. No one was there. Just a single sheet of paper taped to the wall across the hall. The list. But now there were 2 new marks. One next to his name, the red question mark was gone. In its place, a black check. And another beside a name he'd never seen before. L. Ramirez. A cross. His mother had been marked. But by whom? And why now? Midnight was gone. The time for choices was over. Or had it only just begun? He stared at the list. The checkmark next to his name pulsed like a countdown in ink. Permanent. Final. But he hadn't done anything. He hadn't chosen anything. And yet, someone had chosen for him. Or maybe, someone had always been choosing. He ran his fingers over the second new name, L. Ramirez. His mother. But the cross beside it, it wasn't just a symbol. It was a message. She was no longer protected. He knew what it meant. She wasn't hiding. She was running. Still. And maybe, she had run before. Long before he was even born. He opened the old folder again. Looked at the photo. The man next to her. Same eyes as his. Same nose. Same posture. What if he's not your father, the voice had said. But what if he was? He flipped the photo. One line was written on the back. For the day he finds out. The page inside the folder, the one with his name in red ink, had something else on the back, too. He hadn't seen it before. A code. A room number. An address. He searched it online. Nothing. But something in him knew, it wasn't a house. It was a facility. And it wasn't far. He packed the notebook, the photo, the list. And the button. He took it off the notebook this time. Held it in his hand. It felt heavier now. Not just like a reminder, but like a key. The boy in the stories, he whispered to himself, always found a key. Outside, the city didn't feel like his city anymore. Every streetlight flickered the wrong way. Every face looked too long at him. Every bus announcement sounded like a warning. At the address, the building looked abandoned. Boarded windows. Rusted sign. No movement. Except, one door. Open. Just slightly. Enough to let in one person. He stepped through. Inside, dark. Cold. Silent. He walked down a hallway lit only by the exit signs. At the end, a single room. The number from the code. He pushed the door. And froze. Because inside, on the wall, was a mural. A painting. Of a boy. Wearing his face. Holding a notebook. Wearing his button. And underneath the painting, written in thick black ink. Prototype 17, controlled origin, pending replication. He stepped back. Tripped. Fell. And as he scrambled to stand, his hand touched something on the floor. A cassette. Marked. Your real beginning. The cassette clicked into place. For a second, silence. Then, her voice. His mother. Not tired. Not scared. Calm. Firm. Focused. If you're hearing this, then they didn't stop you. She paused. Which means you're ready to know. He leaned closer, barely breathing. But you won't like it. That was the first time she sounded afraid. I didn't steal you, she said. I saved you. He closed his eyes. Her voice pulled memories from places he didn't know he still carried, her fixing the button, whispering the prayer, watching the street in silence. I was never supposed to raise you, she continued. You were meant for them. Designed by them. For the program. But I saw something in you no one else did, you weren't their success. You were their mistake. Success. Mistake. What did she mean? You were the 17th, she said. The only one who asked why. That stopped him. He remembered the question that haunted him as a child. Why am I here? You don't remember the others, she whispered. That's not your fault. They made sure of it. But you knew. You always knew. A click. Another voice. Male. Cold. Distant. Subject 17 showed deviation. Behavioral variance. Uncontrolled empathy. Recommend termination. His breath caught. She interrupted the tape. I didn't let them, she said. I ran. I made them think you failed. I made them think I failed. But you didn't. You're still asking questions. That means you're still becoming. Becoming what? Static. Then her voice returned, softer. I can't tell you what to do next. Only this, your future was designed. But your story, that's yours to write. And they can't erase that. The tape stopped. No click. No rewind. Nothing. Just silence. He looked around the room, at the mural, at the notes, at the dusty walls of what was once a lab, or a cell, or both. Designed. Programmed. Protected. Forgotten. He felt dizzy. Everything she'd ever done, the button, the prayer, the silence, none of it was random. It was a code. A warning. A shield. And maybe, a map. Suddenly, he noticed something. Behind the mural, a faint outline of a second door. Smaller. Hidden. Unlocked. He reached for it. Because maybe, just maybe, behind that door, he'd find not who he was supposed to be, but who he was finally ready to become. The door opened without a sound. Behind it, light. Not harsh. Not fluorescent. Warm. Like sunrise through dusty curtains. Like memory. He stepped through. No machines. No monitors. Just a single room, circular, with mirrors on every wall. 12 chairs. One in the center. On the seat, a shirt. His old school shirt. With the button. Not sewn on. Just resting there. He picked it up. And everything returned at once. The prayer. The floor under the table. The loud TV with no sound. Ricky's last smile. The button sewn again and again. Her voice, always whispering the same line. Where you are is not who you are. He looked into the mirrors. But there weren't 12 versions of him. Just one. But it changed. In each reflection, a different path, him as a teacher, a writer, a builder, a father. Him rich. Him alone. Him powerful. Him peaceful. Dozens of lives. All his. All possible. That was the answer. He had never been designed to become something. He was designed to choose. He sat in the chair. In front of him, a screen lit up. No instructions. Just a cursor blinking. Waiting. He placed the button on the table. And he wrote. Not code. Not confession. Just words. His own story. For the first time, not what was expected. Not what was planned. What was real. A boy who ran because he had to. A boy who listened when silence was the only thing that told the truth. A boy who saw what others ignored. A boy who was told he was a mistake, and chose to be a miracle. And as he typed, the reflections didn't disappear. They leaned in. Merged. Became one. He stood. And for the first time in his life, there was no fear. Only clarity. Only choice. He wasn't who they said he was. He wasn't who his past tried to make him. He was the sum of the moments he chose not to give up. He walked out of the room. Not into freedom. Into responsibility. Because now he knew the truth. You are not the place you're born. You are the place you build. And the people you carry with you. The car was gone. The city was waiting. And somewhere out there, another boy was sitting under a table. Wondering why the world was falling apart. Wondering if he mattered. And maybe, someday, this story would reach him. Maybe that boy would hear the words. Where you are is not who you are. And believe them.